Hi students, welcome to lesson number 12, class stratification in India. Emergence, factors and consequences. Now let us start with the introduction. In every society, people differ from each other following various factors. They are different from others in terms of age, sex, personal traits and more. Just like any other society, Indian society is also heterogeneous instead of homogeneous. Apart from the differences that are natural, people also differentiate on the basis of status, power, income and more. We may also refer to it as social stratification or social inequality. In Indian society, stratification mainly happens considering people's caste, class, gender. Stratification in India is also a form of inequality. The members of Indian society arrange each other in categories of superiority, inferiority, and equality. In other words, stratification is a process of differentiation where some people acquire higher ranks while some other the lower. Moreover, it divides the Indian society into various levels and layers. This creates a hierarchy of certain groups that share a similar lifestyle. Similarly, Indian society stratifies on the basis of caste, class and gender. Now, let us start with the objectives. The lesson objectives are to study the meaning of class system, to know the factors for the emergence of class system. Now let us start with the meaning of social class. Social class refers to divisions in society based on economic and social status. People in the same social class typically share a similar level of wealth, educational achievement, type of job and income. A social class is a large group of people who occupy a similar position in an economic system. There are several different dimensions of social class including income, wealth, power, occupation, education, race and ethnicity. Class stratification happens on the basis of a person's class. The modern society is observed with the class system the most, and similarly it decides a person's rank in a society based on his achievements and the amount of wealth he possesses. Moreover, the class system stratifies in terms of educational qualification, property ownership and other similar things. The superiority and inferiority are common in the class system. The upper class feels superior whereas the lower class feels inferior. In other words, the class system has three parts of the upper class, middle class and the lower class. The class system is not definite, unlike the caste system. For instance, a person of lower class can enter the upper class and vice versa. The new type of land relations initiated by the British government, the economic transformation, industrialization, influence of the outside capitalist world led to the emergence of new social classes in India. The capitalist class, the emergence of the capitalist class was the result of opening up of the Indian economy to the world capitalist system. The process of industrialization and the growth of the banking sector, thus the mercantile, industrial and financial capitalist were born. The accumulation of sufficient savings in the hands of Indian merchants, the princes, the zamindars and moneylenders provides the basis for the emergence of the Indian industries. The industrialization of the country started with the setting up of cotton textiles, jute and the coal mining industries in 1850s. But most of these industries were owned by the British capitalists because investment in India offered them the prospect of high return due to availability of the raw material and labor at cheaper rates. Besides, they could count on the obliging colonial government and bureaucracy. But the Indian capitalist had to suffer hostile trade, tariff, taxation and transport policies of the government, and in its infancy, Indian industries needed protection for rapid growth. All other industrialized countries had protected their infant industries by imposing heavy customs duties on imports from foreign countries. The modern working class made its appearance in India in the second half of the 19th century with the growth of modern industries, railways, post and telegraph network, the plantation and mining also. The Indian working class was formed out of popularized peasants and ruined the artisans. The peasants were pauperized because of high land tax, fragmentation of holdings and growing indebtedness. The artisans were forced to join the rank of workers because they could not compete with the cheaper machine-made goods from England. The works working in an inhuman and degrading condition without any trace of even the minimum duties were performed. The emergence of the new class in India proved to be an event having far-reaching implications. Generally, the enlightened sections of these classes strengthened the freedom struggle, but there were reactionary trends also. The reactionary section of the intelligentsia spread distrust among the different communities, which manifested in growth of communalism. The abolition of zamindari was essential for the improvement in the condition of the rural masses. The dimensions of class. There are various dimensions. Income refers to earnings from work or investments, while wealth refers to all of those assets an individual owns, such as cash, savings and checking accounts, stocks, bonds, real estates, etc. Most people make money from work, but for the wealthy, much of theirs is inherited. As a result, wealth is distributed much more unevenly than income, because wealth is typically passed down from one generation to another. Work is also considered as one of the dimensions. Work is considered as an important dimension of social class as well. People commonly give greater respect to those who have more prestigious occupations. In any society, those with high prestige occupations often belong to more privileged categories of people. When it comes to occupational prestige, the highest ranked occupations such as the physicians, the dentist and engineers are typically held by men. Education is also one of the dimensions. It is where the social class education is as one of the strongest predictors of occupation, income, wealth and later in the life. Most better paying white collar jobs require a degree, while most blue collar jobs require less schooling and bring less income and prestige. Finally, it is argued that nothing affects the social standing as much as being born into a particular family. The family we are born into has a strong bearing on the schooling, occupation and income. Due to transformation of their roles, the modern merchants and money lenders in agrarian areas were constituted as the new classes. having links with the new capitalist economy. So, there appeared a new class of commercial bourgeois in the British India. The Britishers produced commodities of all kinds, were rural or agriculture, urban or industrial, for the market, which resulted in the expansion of internal trade and better link with the world market. Due to such changes in the production system and market economy, a large class of merchants came into existence. The expansion of railways and amassing of wealth in the hands of Indian traders created another class of industrial bourgeois from among the wealthy members of the professional classes and zamindars. This new class took into a pioneer role in the rise of Indian owned textile, mining and other industries. As a sequel to the growth of new class of bourgeoisie in the British India, another class of modern proletariat emerged, who were engaged in the textile mills, mining sector and other industries. These classes of industrial bourgeois and the working class, which were non-existent in the pre-British Indian society, rapidly grew in number along with the development of industries in the latter decades of 19th century and thereafter. The Britishers felt the need of professionals in the new commercial enterprises and administrative system. In order to cater to the needs of the state and the society, they established schools and colleges imparting commercial, legal and general liberal education. As a result, the new professional classes comprising the lawyers, doctors, teachers and professors, managers, clerks, engineers, chemists, the technologist, agronomist, journalist and others came into existence. Such social groups became associated with modern legal system. The medicines, modern education, modern commercial and other enterprises, industries, agriculture, press and other sections of the new social life. These groups of modern professional classes, which emerged mainly due to the spread of rich modern western culture and education in India during the British rule, contrasted sharply with village priest and schoolmaster, learned pandits and the Maulanas, artists and literatures, astronomers and astrologers, the Vaidyas and the Hakims, artisans and mechanics who flourished under the patronage of the princes, nobles and wealthy merchants. The new professional classes became an integral part of the capitalist system which evolved in the British India. The emergence of the new classes in British India was due to the spread of modern western culture and western pattern of education transmitting technical, artistic, scientific and systematic knowledge and skill. Educational facilities could be made available to those who could pay for it. The new professional classes were trained in western sciences, arts and legal streams. Hence, the learners could become adept to the new jurisprudence and legislations, doctors practiced modern medicine, engineers studied modern technological science and the teaching class studied and imparted modern knowledge in advanced social, political, economic, natural and other sciences which were developed in the western countries. The class of journalists edited papers and the writers published books. These were sold in the market and quenched the intellectual thirst of thousands of people, and in the economic and administrative sphere, the managers in the offices handled complex problems affecting the life of the entire nation. As a whole, this class structure can be viewed as totally different from its traditional counterparts in respect of specific talent and capacity of a teacher, a physician or an artist. As regarding the utilization of the skill of the professional, wide difference prevailed between the pre-British India and British India, whereas the professionals belonging to the earlier period were in general and not public practitioners and were mainly attached to their royal masters. The modern professionals provided advantages to the population in large. Apart from the new professional classes, the British India also saw the emergence of the large class of shopkeepers or petty traders to cater to the needs of urbanization. In spite of the transformation of the Indian economy from medieval to the modern capitalistic basis, the classes of pre-capitalist Indian economy also survived and coexisted along with the new classes in British India. This was possible due to inadequate industrial development and simultaneous prevalence of old economy with village artisans, urban handicraftsmen, etc. But these remnants of old classes could not maintain their functions and characteristics into. They had to incorporate some new features in respect of the utility of their skill in the general market. Simultaneously, these remnant classes retained some of their old characteristics in respect of their techniques and organizations. The class of Indian princes used to maintain royal courts, held feudal functions and continued to maintain the formalities of the old feudal regime, without having sovereign powers in most of the cases. In real terms, almost all vital functions and powers of these princely states were either taken over or were controlled by the British. As regarded the economic structure, basically the economy of these princely states became integrated with the Indian national economy. The introduction of the modern legal system curtailed existence of democratic liberties, hampered the socio-economic aspects of the cultural development of the princely states. Therefore, the Indian princes lost their importance which they had in the pre-British period. They had to coexist with the new classes which emerged in the British India. The class of zamindars on the whole took an anti-democratic stand on the vital issues affecting the Indian social life. It appropriated a good proportion of land revenue and caused deterioration of economic condition of vast mass of tenants. As a result, agriculture gradually declined. Due to lack of proper manure and seeds, etc., the agricultural productivity became low in the zamindari areas and tenants became poor. The nationalist movement gained momentum along with the movements of peasants, the tenants, land labourers, etc. The zamindars sought the help of their interest and rights. They went to the length of claiming for representation in the legislature. It has already been mentioned that the tenants suffered from exploitation at the hands of zamindars and were impoverished. The creation of intermediaries between the zamindar and the tenant further worsened the condition of the tenants. Even where the Raitwari system prevailed, the condition of the tenant was no way better than their counterparts in the zamindari system. Due to gradual impoverishment among the peasant proprietors, the absentee landlords took over the land, and in course of time an awakening started among the tenants in different parts of the country and formed the Kisan Sabhas. The Kisan Sabhas described the zamindari system as wasteful, inefficient and contrary to the interest of the nation. The Kisan Sabha in UP demanded abolition of zamindari system in 1935. Now, let us concentrate on the emergence of modern intelligentsia in India. The different other various concepts which emerged because of the class system, the emergence of the new modern intelligentsia in India was one of them. It can be traced to the period before the existence of industrial bourgeois. Rajaram Mohan Roy and his group may be described as the first group of modern Indian intelligentsia. They acquired knowledge in Western culture and imbibed its rationalist and democratic principles, the conception and spirit. During those days, a small number of Indians were educated. Thereafter, the British government opened more and more schools and colleges. Efforts were also made by the missionary groups to reinforce the growth of educational institutions in the Western model. Thus, where the number of educated Indians were meagre in the first decade of the 19th century. The second half of the 19th century witnessed a large section of the intelligentsia. The intelligentsia played a stellar role in the history of modern Indian nationalism. They were instrumental in integrating the Indian people into a modern nation and organizing various reform movements in India. They produced rich literature and culture, championed the spirit of nationalism and democracy, created eminent scientists, poets, historians, sociologists, philosophers and economists. Due to such reasons, the progressive intelligentsia may be viewed as the makers of the modern India. In 1857, the universities were established in India for the first time. Therefore, the numerical strength of the educated Indians increased day by day. The outstanding members of the Indian intelligentsia were supported by a group of new Indian intelligentsia which were backed by the commercial and newly created industrial bourgeois. Now, the other aspect of the study is the emergence of modern Indian proletariat. The establishment of modern industry affected the peasant. The class of modern Indian proletariat was formed mainly out of the peasants and ruined the artisans. They had a low level of living and working conditions. A vast majority of Indian proletariat got a wage which was insufficient to provide them with the bare necessities of life. They were not given protection against unemployment, the old age, accident or sickness. Due to low wages, most of them had fallen into indebtedness. The government enacted some acts to safeguard the interest of the workers, but these were not adequate to protect the labor. As a sequel to that, a steady growth of working class movement started from 1980 and took time to develop into national and class consciousness. From the political point of view, the Indian proletariat remained almost unconscious and static up to 1918, except the strike of the Bombay textile workers in 1908. However, after 1918, the Indian working class developed trade union and political consciousness and organized a series of strikes throughout the country, particularly between the years 1918 to 1920. During this period, attempts were made to form trade unions and All India Trade Union Congress was founded in 1920. After 1938, a number of trade unions spring up throughout the country and the class of modern proletariat acquired increasing importance in the nationalist movement. Now, let us sum up the lesson. Stratification in India is also a form of inequality. The members of Indian society arrange each other in categories of superiority, inferiority and equality. In other words, stratification is a process of differentiation where some people acquire higher ranks while some the lower ones. Social class refers to divisions in society based on economic and social status. People in the same social class typically share a similar level of wealth, educational achievement and the type of job and income. A social class is a large group of people who occupy a similar position in an economic system. There are several different dimensions of social class, including the income, wealth, power, occupation, education, race and ethnicity. Thank you.